Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley is brought to you by Adgressive Marketing Solutions, your solution for all business social media needs. If you need a team of social media marketers and content creators to help you build your brand on social media, text WES 2020 to 541-709-6502 today. Get started building your brand on social media. Success is defined differently by every individual. Some have never even considered what it is. I hope when I get older I'll be successful. What does that even mean? Money? Cars? Big house? On this show, we strive to look at it a little deeper, learning from successful individuals on what they believe success really is and how to obtain it. Everybody, enjoy the show. This is Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley.
Hello and welcome to Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley. Today we are doing episode 14 with the CEO of Adgressive Marketing Solutions, Christian Hill. Christian, welcome to the podcast.
What's up?
What's going on?
Howdy doody, Wes.
So Christian and I kind of go back. We know each other pretty well. We coach baseball together, but I want to talk to him a little bit more about other things that Christian does. So Christian, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm 23 years old. I grew up, my only dream in life was to be a college baseball player and then eventually play professional baseball. So I focused everything on that growing up in high school and club teams, things like that. And eventually I did get a college scholarship and went and played. And I only went to school for like a semester, and a bunch of stuff happened where baseball was great, but just the environment, a lot of drugs and alcohol and things like that I just didn't feel like were good for me. And so then I decided to drop all that, go serve a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I did that for 2 years, changed my whole life, came back home, got my first job at a gym because I was planning to go play baseball afterwards. So I wanted the free gym membership, take advantage of the system type thing and make some money at the same time. But my job was to scrub toilets, and it was really, once again, like I hated it, and probably feel pretty similar to anyone that has a job and they don't like it. Like you just don't like it. And so I decided that I'd try to figure out what I could do on my own, like starting my own business. And so I went out searching for problems to solve. And I noticed that here in Idaho, there isn't very many people really take advantage of social media. And then so that's why I decided to quit my job, start a social media marketing company called Adgressive Marketing Solutions. And now that's brought me to where I am today. And that's the whole backstory, is how everything started for me.
So it's kind of funny because we've talked before about it, and 23, young pup, has made up his mind that he had to spend, what'd you say, like 6 months working, doing a little bit of blue collar work, and you didn't like it at all and realize that you could do more.
Yeah. So I think I worked there for maybe 3 or 4 months, like total. Yeah, it was the people were awesome. Like all the people that that came to the gym, the patrons, they were super, super awesome. And I worked really hard. Like my job was basically keeping the gym clean. And so I worked really hard. I made that gym spotless, and the people that came in, they loved me, but I just, obviously, like no one likes cleaning toilets. So I felt like I felt like I was not using my brain to the ultimate capacity that I could use it by simply scrubbing toilets. So I started to put my mind to it and figured out that, okay, if I think differently and I do these different things, then I can start something on my own and be successful.
So that's a pretty big jump, because I know growing up for myself, and a lot of things that I went through was the fact that my parents were telling me, hey, you need to go to college. You need to get a degree to be successful. That's the way that it needs to be. How was that kind of your home life and things like that? How supportive were your parents of that, of you not going to college, not playing baseball, all the things that you just took this jump as a 23-year-old, and just changed the whole scene of everything?
Yeah. So my dad, I've never grown up to see a dad that's gone up like to a 9-to-5 job. My dad's been an entrepreneur his whole life. And my mom has a job, just a part-time job, simply because she just doesn't want to sit at home and be bored all day. She needs something to do. She likes fabrics, so she works at Joann Fabrics. But my dad, like I've grown up with an entrepreneurial father, and so as soon as I decide like to go and get a job, he's thinking like, man, that's like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And so it was really good for me, because when I started thinking about things that I could do on my own, my dad was really good for me, because he can help me think through it. Him and I have a interesting relationship where he thinks he's always right and I think I'm always right. But then once we figure out to like be humble and we can like talk back and forth and actually figure something out, then we can come up with some pretty good ideas. And so, yeah, my family life, I I don't really know what I don't really know what is like what having a family that has a job is like. So that's just kind of how I grew up. I guess I have it easier for than most people would if they're planning on like starting a business, you know.
But you don't call it a job. I mean, that's the thing that I like about talking to you is like it's never really like a job. It's your passion. It's something that you do. Is that the way that you look at it as well? Like you're not bored with what you're doing. You don't dread going to work every day because it's something that you enjoy doing.
Definitely. I would say that marketing is one of my passions. Like there's really kind of there's one big main vision that I have for my life is I want to, and this kind of came from serving LDS mission and like spiritual things like that. But my main goal in life is I want to be able to have the ability, but not necessarily retire, but have the ability to retire at 40 or earlier, so that I have as much time as possible to be fulfilling my life purpose, which is trying to find joy and happiness. And for me, I found joy and happiness through serving others. I don't know. I haven't figured out quite like in what area of service is going to bring me the most joy, but just that main principle is of serving others, serving God however I can. And so that's my main overall vision, to be able to accomplish that, is retire at 40. And so kind of breaking that down, I was like, okay, well, how am I going to be able to retire at 40 if I have a job like a regular like 9 to 5 job working for someone else for $15 an hour? Like it just won't happen. Like if it's great to have a job, but if you don't know the knowledge of how to like either take that money and invest it in something or have good money habits, like you're never going to be able to get to a point where the money's working for you to have the time so that you don't have to wait until you're 65 to retire. So marketing. So from that is like, there's really three things that I really want to become an absolute expert on, which is business. Hit the mute button, which is business. And like within that would be like sales and marketing, real estate, and then like service. Like those three things are the main things that I really want to become just an absolute expert at, because then there's nothing that will happen in this life that will keep me from being able to make money on my own and accomplishing my dreams. Right. So would I say marketing is one of my passions? Like, sure. But would I say that building a social media marketing company originally was like all of a sudden discovered this thing that I'm passionate about? No, I wouldn't say that. I would say that what happened was I'm passionate about problem solving. And so I saw a problem that I actually could figure out and learn the skills to solve that problem. And actually maybe I'd be able to make some money doing it. So that's really where that came from. And then I developed a passion around it because, man, marketing is one of the things that I really want to become an expert at. And so I like starting my own business was not really I'm really passionate about this thing, but I developed the passion for it. So now it's something that I really enjoy, and I'd much rather be doing that than go and get a job and just live in the rat race like Robert Kiyosaki talks about in his book. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that's a big thing that's very profound for someone at your age, I think, because that's not something that I thought about when I was your age. You know, I was thinking about getting that money. How am I going to get it? What's the easiest way to do it? And eventually end up being stuck in something that I wasn't very happy doing, and went kind of around the long way back to the fact that I could do that on my own and I could make myself successful by doing those things. So what do you do? What do you do daily? Go through kind of like your routine, what you do, because I know you're busy all the time. And how did you gain all this knowledge? What was the best process for you to do that? How do you go through a regular day and work on gaining that knowledge?
Yeah. So I'll just be honest with you. I wake up at like 9:30, 10, or 11 o'clock every day. So I sleep in, but I'm also up at night until like 2 a.m. working. Right. And so I wouldn't say like the problem with people that think about success is they hear people talking about success and they're like, oh man, if I just do that one thing, that's going to make me successful. Like for example, waking up early would be an example. Oh, if I wake up at 4:30 or I do this certain thing, like that's going to make me successful. Like that's just not true. Like success is based off of principles. Like you have to be living according to certain principles in order to actually get success. You have to align yourself with patterns and principles, and then you'll experience success. And so for me, like I'm not very knowledgeable. Like I have enough knowledge to know that I don't know very much. And so there was a guy on my mission that I went and we had like these sky trains, subway type things, but they're like above ground. And as a missionary, you go up and you talk to everyone, regardless of who they are, what color they are. Like you just talk to everyone, trying to just get to know them and teach them about Jesus Christ. Like that's the whole purpose of a missionary. And this one guy I walked up to, he's a bald white guy, name is Yair, and he like impacted my life in like 5 seconds. I went up to him and talked to him, and I was like, man, like how are you doing? Like what's your life like? And he says, oh, like I'm actually trying to figure out how to retire in the next 2 years. I was like, man, that's super awesome. I was like, how old are you? And he's like, oh, I'm 38. And I was like, at the time, like a week before that, I had figured out like my life vision of like retire at 40. And so I meet this guy, right? And he's like, I'm 38 and I'm planning to retire in 2 years. I was like, man, like that's exactly what I want to do. Like, how are you going to do that? And he says, well, if you want to learn how to retire when you're 40, then you need to go find someone that's already retired when they're 30, and then they'll teach you how to retire at 40. And so I was like, oh man, like that's so profound, right? And I was only like 19, 20 when I heard that. And so to me, like that was like the first time I ever heard it, and I thought it was amazing. And so that really stuck with me. And so I realized, okay, I need to get some mentors in my life that are already successful. They're already living the life I want. And I need to go and talk to them. And so immediately after I quit my job at the gym, the very first thing I did was I went and found all the successful people I could possibly find, which luckily when you're a member of the church, like you have this huge network of people that are successful that you can go and talk to. And right. Most of the time, like I've never been turned down from someone that I could actually like get in touch with that's successful. I've never been turned down when I asked them, hey, could I interview you and talk about like, just ask you some questions about how you became successful. I've never been turned down. Like most successful people that became successful, like they're humble and they're willing to share with people who are actually interested and they're actually going to do something that they say, right? Take their advice. And so I went and did that with, I don't even know, like 20, 30 people. And I gleaned a whole bunch of principles, right? A lot of patterns that they do. And I realized like, okay, like if I align my life that way, then I'm going to be able to almost like run into success or manufacture success, right? Produce success. And like one of the main things the very first thing that my very first mentor ever told me was Christian, you need to read books. I was like, in high school, anytime someone said read a book, I just dreaded it, right? Everyone in high school, they say you need to read books so that you can get better at reading. It's like, who the heck wants to get good at reading? Because reading sucks. If they would have said, you need to read books to learn how to make more money and have a successful life, then I would have read books. And so the average CEO in this country, right, they read 52 books a year, one book a week, right? And so I did the math and I was like, okay, a college student, like where does the knowledge come from for these college students who are learning from professors? These professors, all they do is they just really study the books and then they create lessons about them, right? Or maybe they've had some experience and then they go back and teach college. So it's like, okay, how do I juggle the difference between going to college or learning myself? It's like, well, in college, the average college student maybe reads like 1 or 2 books a semester or per year, right? Yeah, if even. Like I've never met a college student that's read the whole entire textbook, right? But I have. Yeah. Like I've read the whole entire business textbook, right? And so it's like you might find some college graduates that are like on their A game and they've read like 1 or 2 books in their whole entire 4 years of getting a bachelor's degree. But I've read 52 books last year, right? From guys that are like the experts in these fields. So to me, it just is like a simple equation of like, okay, well, if I want to get more knowledge and actually learn something, well, I should go and learn from the actual experts and read as much as possible about them and then apply it, versus go to college and, like hate my life and be studying for a test and then not even actually read anything, So to me, it's just, it's finding those little patterns and principles of success and then just applying and aligning your life with those things. And like one of those things was reading books for me. That's made a huge difference.
Yeah. And I think that's great. I mean, you kind of talked to me about that and I started doing the same thing. And it's funny how, like you said, you ran into the guy at the subway or whatever. You ran into him on the track there and talked to him about that. And you were in the right place at the right time. And I've had that with everything. Every book that you told me that I should start off reading and then end up reading all these other ones, they all go along the same basic principles, but it's making you an expert in that field. It's making you better at what you do because you're learning more and more about it. And you can't see it, but off to the side here, I have 2 degrees on the wall, and I can guarantee you I maybe read 2 books in 7 years of college. So yeah, it's not that it wasn't important. It's just that I could write the test, right? I could do the test without having to know everything in the book. I needed to just memorize, and they're teaching you to memorize stuff, and that's how school is. And so I find way more value in the fact of doing something myself rather than listening to someone tell me how to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
have you ever heard of the learning pyramid?
Maybe. I probably did because, my degrees are in education, so I should have.
Yeah. So like the learning pyramid. So one of my mentors, right now, like he is extremely successful in his industry. And here in the next 5 years, like he's giving me the vision of like what they're trying to accomplish. And it's like beyond like, successful, like he's like in like the billions dollars range. And like some of the richest people on the planet are planning on buying his business. Like he's like that type of caliber of business guy. Right. And so one of the things that he is really keen on, and one of the principles he lives by, is becoming a master teacher. And he surrounds himself with people who are master teachers in the fact that they're willing to give information because they believe that in this life, all of us are going to the same place. They personally believe that we're all like a big family, right? So why wouldn't you be willing to give knowledge to someone else to get them a little bit further along the path in this life, right? And so he surrounds himself with people that do that. And so when I thought about that, it's like, okay, a master teacher. The learning pyramid, it represents like what type of things you do and what percentage of retention of knowledge do those things bring. So like the lowest would be lectures. If you get a lecture, you're only going to retain about 5% of that lecture. But the best thing that you can do is teaching others. And that will allow you to retain about 90% of the things that you're learning, right? So teaching is the best way to learn something and retain that information. So a master teacher really is a master learner. And so like when you think about it, like people in this world, they think that the rich and the successful are arrogant and they're prideful and they don't care about others. But the only way that they got that way was by caring about others, by being humble, by willing to take criticism and experience the hardness of life and just really fight through that grind. That was the only way that they were able to be successful. Like you don't have guys that are just prideful and believe that the world owes them something. You don't have those type of guys that become the top 1% in the world. So things like that is like a master teacher. That's a really good principle. That's going to make people successful. Being willing to not only give knowledge that has helped you, but as you're doing that, it's helping you in return, because now you're retaining 90% of the information that you're teaching, right? And
right. Yeah.
It's just so many awesome principles out there that are to be learned and can really help people that, college doesn't teach that stuff. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the tough part. As a educator in high school, it was kind of the same thing. I mean, how many times I watched kids, I preached one thing and watched kids go down the same pattern that I did when I was in high school, because it's what kids do. They try to find a way out of it. They're not interested. They see no value in it, and you have to find that value. And I think that's that's one of the lessons that I wish that I would have heard coming out, is find what you value and then do it, because I really believe that hard work will trump all, and you can get as much as you want out of it, but you're going to have to put more into it. It's all up to you. And if you're willing to work for it, it's going to happen. So
Sure.
yeah, I mean, and that's a great thing. And I applaud you for being a 23-year-old kid, because you are a kid and I'm an old man. But
I'm a kid.
Yeah, you are a kid, but you've got a good grasp on that. So what kind of advice would you give to someone who is wanting to go and be an entrepreneur, quit their job and go chase their dreams, go do what they want to do to be happy, so it's not considered a job anymore?
That's a good question. From my experience with having a job sucks. So that's just my opinion. But if you have a passion or you want to make that transition to be an entrepreneur, the entrepreneur lifestyle is more difficult than having a job, because in order for you to really be successful in it, you need to be willing to really dig deep into it and really just not let anyone tell you that you're not going to make it. You're working 40 hours a week in your job, but really, if you're going to be an entrepreneur and be successful at it and really have passion for it, it's going to take more than 40 hours a week to actually succeed in it. And so it's understanding really what you're asking for. But I would say that I'll just use the same analogy that I used with you, Wes, is how do you make a pickle, right? A pickle, you have to put it in brine, right? And it doesn't take very long for a cucumber to become a pickle. But did you know that you can de-pickle a pickle? It's like, yeah, it's fact, it's true, it's science. You can actually take a pickle and turn it back into a cucumber. But how much longer does it take for a pickle to not be a pickle anymore? Like, it takes a lot longer. And so us as individuals who have grown up in a family that's not like mine, like a family that has parents that they have full-time jobs and they work for someone else and they're not entrepreneurs. Like, you've grown up in that lifestyle. You've had that mindset drilled into you from the beginning of when you went to school, and then you go to college and it's drilled into you again. You're being trained on how to be a great employee, which is just fine. And then you want to make the transition. Well, you need to, one, be patient with yourself and know that you're going to be going through the de-pickling process, to be able to think differently and be willing to take more risks to be able to get success. And so how do you do that? Is one, you need to eliminate all the people in your life that are not going to help you achieve that goal, right? I wouldn't say like get rid of your parents, your family, all these things like that, but get rid of negative influences that are not trying to get to where you're trying to get. And then on top of that, surround yourself and fill that void with people who are on that same track, who have accomplished those things, and surround yourself with people that can teach you, right? And whether you need to pay them for coaching and get that expedited knowledge, like that's up to you. But you need to be surrounding yourself with people that have already made it or are on their way to make it, so that you can become like them. Entrepreneurship is a state of being. It's not actions. And so, like, an employee is a state of being. It's a mindset. Entrepreneur is a mindset and a state of being. There's many employees that want to act like an entrepreneur, but eventually, if you want to be successful, you have to become one inside your heart, inside your mind, inside your soul. You have to actually have a change of state in order to really succeed in the entrepreneurial life. That means you need to be absorbing knowledge. You need to be humble. You need to be learning from mentors, right? You need to be surrounding yourself in uncomfortable situations, trying to get as much knowledge as possible and apply those things. And the guys that are on the stage talking, the reason they're on the stage talking is because they're the only ones in the room that are willing to have people judge them, and they're the only ones that are willing to to experience the embarrassment of failure. And that's the difference between an employee mindset and an entrepreneur's mindset. An entrepreneur is not afraid of embarrassment and not afraid of failure or criticism, but an employee is always trying to keep it safe and make sure that they don't get hurt, right? They're trying to have job security, all these things, right? So it's going from those two state of beings. You have to have that transition in order to really be successful as an entrepreneur, which will happen. Anyone can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the biggest deals that I ever faced was the fact that I was working, even making that transition from working at Les Schwab, going back to college, and then quitting my job, going to college was easier because I had done it the first time with Les Schwab. And you are sitting there and you have this thing that's convenient because it's bringing you pay and it's coming in, and you just keep doing what you're doing because that's what you're built to do. And then in taking that leap to go follow your passion, to go do something, is the hardest part when you have so much security, like the security blanket around you. So
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So, one final question here. The show is called Shaping Success. So we talk about defining success for each individual that is on the show. And so I kind of want to hear what the shape of your success is, how you define that, and how will you consider yourself as a successful person when this is all said and done?
I think for me, success is the freedom to be able to spend as much time as possible fulfilling your life purpose. And for me, my life purpose is to find joy, which is probably very similar to everyone else when you really get down to it, is to find joy and happiness. And what makes me the most happy is serving God and serving people. And so whether that's through the capacity of just inspiring people through coaching, through motivational stuff, or just my example, I want to have the absolute freedom of time and energy to be able to serve as many people as possible, whether that's on an individual level or on a massive level. That's what success is for me, is to have the freedom to actually be able to do something like that. And am I at that point right now? No. But am I striving for that? Absolutely. So that's what success is to me.
Well, that's great. That's awesome. I'm glad that you have found this at the age that you have, because I think that you're going to be successful. I know that you're going to be successful, and I know you have that mindset, which is what you have to have in order to reach your dreams. Thank you for tuning in. If you feel that if this show has brought you any value, please share it with anyone. And my challenge for you today is to find the shape of your success. Have a great day.
This was Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley, brought to you by Adgressive Marketing Solutions. If you need a team of marketers to help you with social media, all you need to do to start is text Wes 2020 to 541-709-6502, 541-709-6502. That is Adgressive Marketing Solutions. Have a great day. See you next time.